Welcome to the Robert Patton Global Podcast. That's right, we are global. And we are here again with Kyle the Monster Nelson. Thank you so much for joining me again, Kyle. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, I imagine you've been doing a handful of these recently.
Yeah, I mean, the more I can do, the better for me, and the better for my sponsors when I'm able to show them out.
Exactly. Yeah, you're getting your feet wet in the interviewing process, and that's part of the game. Is getting yourself out there and making people know who you are and your personality. It's not all about fighting anymore, right? Or like not everything.
No, definitely. As the UFC becomes kind of more, it's becoming very entertainment.
Yeah.
So there's, a line between sport and entertainment, but there's definitely some fighters that are crossing that line a little bit and trying to entertain a little bit too much, and it's not original and it doesn't seem to work. But there are some guys that can still entertain outside of the cage and still perform inside.
Exactly. I mean, it all kind of boils down to whether or not you're winning, and then secondly, if you can put on a little bit of a character that seems to help a little bit. But I mean, right now I'm thinking of Cannonier. He fought this past weekend against the Joker Hermansen in Denmark. Did you watch that?
No, actually, I missed that one.
It was a beatdown, and Cannonier was like, "You gotta watch me fight to know who I am. I'm not gonna put on a show outside of the cage and this and that." And I respect that, but I also like the entertainment value of the characters. It's tough to say what's right or wrong, but I feel like it adds an element of just excitement to watch the fight, like with Colby Covington versus Usman. Who would you want? You're in the 155. Oh no, you're in 145.
Yeah,
and you kind of bounce around those weight classes. It seems like a little bit.
Yeah. So when I fought over in Romania, I did a 155 just because of all the travel and it's hard. I mean, cutting weight's hard enough as is, but yeah, when you travel that far and you don't have a lot of time to cut weight, it was just easier to fight a 155.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got the first call to the UFC back in December of 2018, it was only on 3 days' notice, so 155 was the only option. So we took it.
And that was Ferrara? Is that his name?
Yeah, I fought a guy named Diego Ferrara.
Diego Ferrara, yeah. And we were talking about that on the last podcast, as how well he's doing and how well you did against him. Even though ultimately you ended up taking the L, you were dominating that fight, which you tend to do. So it's just promising for me as a sponsor. Shout out SHEATH Underwear, sponsors Kyle the Monster Nelson. And his career, we've been with you since back in the day. I think it was your fourth fight. I think I remember you were 4-0 at the time or something along those lines. But you put on that win streak. You were I think you ended up going into the UFC 10-1. What was it?
Yeah, I got into the UFC at 12-1.
12-1. And so then now you're 13-3. Is that right?
Yep.
Well, it's impressive record. You're in a great weight class, but either one of those. But I guess I would prefer you being in the 145 weight class, just because of Khabib and Ferguson and that whole group of murderers row is. I think you could take them, but I feel like you would be more evenly matched up against Max Holloway, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely for my size. I think I could compete well at 155, but I would need to take some time off to build a little extra muscle and get used to moving around with that weight and
Yeah,
moving around their 155ers. So right now at 145, I'm doing well, and I've only got one loss at 145, and I think it's where I'm going to be able to compete the best at right now.
that's right. You do only have one loss at 145. That's a good point. People don't remember that, I think. They just look at the record, but they don't see how you went up a weight class and you fought on short notice and you were actually winning the fight. And then we talked about it last time. What did you describe as that, like, your kind of reasoning for going 0 and 2 in the UFC, and then you got your first win. It was very exciting a couple weeks ago in where was it? Mexico City, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was so exciting. And what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, the first fight we took on 3 days' notice, fighting up a weight class, and I was in decent shape. Like I always stay in pretty good shape, but
Hmm.
I wasn't in as good a shape as I am when I'm getting ready for a fight. So yeah, but I mean, I went in there. Skill wise, I was able to kind of pick Diego apart, especially on the feet.
Yep.
Um, when I early on, when I had energy and I was moving my feet, he couldn't take me down.
Nope.
I was able to knock him down a few times, hurt him to the body, hurt him to the head, and then towards the end of the fourth round, there it just I think my cardio kind of gave out, and also my basically all my systems. I think just because the 3 days
Yep.
you know, with the stress of getting in the UFC, uh,
Hmm.
getting all the medicals done. I had to travel down to the States and back. It was like 16 hours. So, I mean, in those 3 days, my body was running at like 110%. And I
Yeah.
think when I was in the octagon there and when I had knocked him down, I think my body kind of relaxed because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I've made it. So then my body kind of went from that super high, intense, 110% adrenaline and everything.
Yep.
And uh, as soon as the adrenaline stopped pumping that much, I think my body was kind of running on fumes because of everything that led up to that point. So
Yeah.
he kind of gave out, and then he was able to take over from there.
I remember now. Yeah, and they call that, like Joe Rogan or whoever, if the adrenaline dump, and that is a real thing. Especially like you said, you're like so amped up for days upon, leading up to the fight, and then you're in there, you're winning, you're like, I did it. And then your body's like you said, you can relax and you just peter out a little bit because of you've just been running, like you said, on high energy for so long. But you just, we didn't go over this before. You said medicals. What do they do to
So
test you out or
I
whatever?
already had all my medicals done for Ontario, but
Uh-huh.
the UFC wanted an MRI and an MRA. And
Hmm.
on 3 days' notice, it was impossible to get done in Canada. We have like the free healthcare and stuff, but that generally means we have to wait
Yeah.
longer. So we had to drive down to the States, and I think the closest clinic we could find was 6 or 8 hours away.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we drove down to that, got the MRI, MRA, and I think it was like 1,200 bucks or something. Uh,
Wow.
and then turned around and came back, and then obviously we had to get ready for the weight cut. Had to do some media and stuff. So I got the call on 3 days, but those 3 days were kind of jam packed, full of obligations and stuff.
But you got your first win and you went back home, and so like, is this just like back to business as usual? Are you getting a lot of fanfare from the locals?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been crazy. I got back from Mexico City. I came back home to Huntsville. We did my son's birthday. I was here for like 2 days, and then I had to leave to fly out 5 hours away to Alberta. A couple of my training partners were fighting. I don't know if you saw the picture, but yeah, they all weighed in and SHEATH.
Oh, I did see that. That was so cool. Thank you. Very, very cool. That is, yes, I did see that.
Yeah, and then they all won. So I was
Oh,
there for 4 or 5 days, and yeah, they all won, so that was pretty awesome.
hell yeah. Those like your training partners and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So they all helped me get ready for my UFC fight. I helped them get ready for those fights, and then yeah, we all won. So it's been a good a good couple weeks for the team.
Hell yeah. And do you have like a I know you've trained at TriStar. I've seen you train there. What's your home gym?
Home gym is House of Champions in Stony Creek. So it's about like 3 hours from my house.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So what I do is I go down usually on Monday, Sunday or Monday, and then in the gym down in the basement there's like an extra training room or something, or an extra change room. So
Yeah.
I have like a little futon set up in there. So I usually go down 3 or 4 days and stay down there.
Wow. So your son, his name is Corbin, is that right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be away from him for those days. You do that like almost every week or what?
Yeah. So and then for the fight camp, the training camp, I was gone for about 7 weeks. I think I came home one weekend to see him and stuff, but yeah, otherwise I was down there for 7 weeks, and yeah, usually like a regular week I'm down there at least 3 or 4 days.
So he just had his birthday. Corbin, is he 4 or 5? Or how old is he?
Yeah, just turned 5.
Ooh. He's starting school and stuff?
Yes, we started school last year, so we did senior kindergarten, and now he's into, or he did junior kindergarten, and now he's into senior kindergarten.
Is that going well? Is he beating up all the other kids or what?
No, it's going pretty good. He's come to training a lot, and he's done a bit of training, and so he really understands that. We kind of keep all that in the gym, and we don't take it to school, and we don't beat our friends up and stuff like that. So he's really responsible like that.
That's so good and like true though with it when it comes to martial arts, I guess. At least the reputation is that, they're well disciplined and just, ultimately like better people because of training in martial arts. You're not going to be a bully because you respect, I guess it's a respect thing, right? You
Yeah,
respect
yeah.
the
I mean,
art.
you learn a lot of different virtues and stuff. In martial arts. From respect, self discipline,
Hmm.
honor. And then when you push your body to the limit too, you learn a lot about yourself. Uh,
Hmm.
and you're also put in situations where you're training with a bigger guy, and maybe you don't do so well, and you understand what it's like to not always be the winner. And then you maybe you get the better of someone else. You get to experience all that stuff, and so you can understand too when you're dealing with people in everyday life. And it makes it a lot easier to see where people are coming from,
Yep.
and maybe avoid some of those bad situations.
Yeah, I think that it's humbling to lose, and then you get like the confidence in winning. But I don't know, I guess if you were like winning all the time, you might get cocky and be, like a jerk to people in public if you didn't have like the right sensei or master trainer and stuff. I'm thinking of that Karate Kid and the Cobra Kai, and those guys were like mean um, martial artists because they took that training and tried to be like bullies to. It's just a movie, but uh, I think that most people though are not like that. I doubt you've seen that movie, the new Karate Kid. Have you?
Uh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, but it's like that, like 20 years later, and they're all adults now, and I didn't watch it, but I was kind of curious. I was like, that's interesting. I would like. I mean, you're a lot younger than I am, and so when the Karate Kid came out, I was like a kid, and now it's like seeing them all these years later. It's just kind of funny, but that's an aside. Um, so you were at the fight. The headliner was Stevens versus Rodriguez, and as most people know, if you don't know, they stopped the fight due to an eye poke, and the crowd went crazy, started throwing beers and whatever on fighters and announcers and stuff. But so, and I forget you. I know you were there, but where were you, and what was your experience when that was going on?
Yeah, I was in the back, so they have like a green room set up. So once you're done your fight, they've got this room with a big buffet and stuff, and lots of TVs, so you can watch the fights and kind of hang out and relax.
Yeah.
I was back there with most of the other fighters because this was a main event, so everybody else has already fought. Everybody's kind of relaxing and stuff. And then, yeah, obviously that happened, and then you could still hear the crowd because we're still in the same building. And you could hear the crowd starting to get a little crazy, and we could see it on TV and stuff. And then all of a sudden, some of our security team comes back and says, "Okay, guys, we're going to the bus right now. Everybody come right now. Don't stop. Don't do this. Don't talk to anyone. We're going right to the bus." And then as soon as we get to the bus, we had a police escort. So there was 20 or 30 cops there, and then they kind of
Ooh.
all back to the hotel.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Kind of scary a little bit, maybe, but um, and Stevens and Rodriguez are 145ers also.
Yep. Yeah. So they're in my weight class.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Rodriguez is like the super unorthodox fighter. Stevens is like this power puncher, kind of, like tough guy. I don't know. I guess they just re-signed the fight to happen on October 18th, which is pretty cool because they needed to get, settle that. Who would you rather go up against and why?
Um, I think I'd like to fight Yair Rodriguez. I think he's got an interesting style.
Yeah,
Jeremy Stevens, he's got the power, but I think he's as far as style wise, he's pretty basic.
yep.
Whereas I think Yair would be definitely would be an interesting fight.
Yeah, that would be exciting. He's always exciting to watch. And I liked him, and I still like him, but like all the way up until this fight where he was kind of acting spoiled a little bit. I was like, uh, and maybe I'm getting some feedback or information from other like podcasts and things that he just is like a prima donna, like like he just thinks he's like the shit, and he's great. He's good. And I really enjoy watching him. But that was just his character in that situation seemed diminished based on how he responded.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. He seemed super upset. I mean, he was the one that poked Jeremy in the eye, and then
I know.
to act like that afterwards, and yeah, I don't know, it wasn't very professional, but yeah, luckily we'll get to see it again here soon in UFC Boston.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna even be a bigger fight now because of all of, like the hype surrounding it. And after that, took place. Now people are really, I think, we're gonna want to watch it, and I think it's gonna be exciting. I'm pumped. I love the UFC. I was thinking about football fans and like fans of other sports, and I was like thinking this in my head. I was like, how stupid are they? They get all excited and they're like watching and like just sitting there watching other people, run a ball or whatever. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's how I get when I watch the UFC. I get like super pumped up about it, and and I'm not even doing it. I'm just sitting there watching. So that is, I mean, but it's my thing. I like the UFC. Other people like football. Do you watch any other sports or anything?
No, not really. As soon as I started, training mixed martial arts and watching the UFC, that was kind of it. I think there was something so real and authentic about mixed martial arts. It's kind of what everything else boils down to. I mean, even in other sports, if it's not going well for them or if they're getting upset, it kind of boils down to a fight, right? Especially in hockey.
Yeah.
Just skip all the other stuff and go right to the fights.
The meat. Yeah. Yeah. Because, yeah, get rid of the balls and just use your body and fists. What do you think about the bare knuckle boxing and or fighting? Is that like going on these days?
It's interesting. So that the fight that I was just at in Alberta, they had the first sanctioned bare knuckle boxing fight in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think it was a pretty big deal, and yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it comes with a bunch of different variables. Uh,
Hmm.
this fight actually ended because of a cut. So again, with no gloves or anything, you get hit with the knuckles a lot around your eyes. Everybody seems to get cut up a lot. And yeah, if you get a big enough cut around your eye, usually a doctor always stops. That's kind of unfortunate that the fights can be stopped a little earlier because of the cuts and stuff. But
It makes it more, I guess, quote unquote, realistic, you know. Um, do they wrap their hands at all, or is it just like nothing?
I think it depends on where you go. This one, they were allowed to put tape around their wrist, but nothing on their hand or knuckles.
Oh,
I've
wow.
seen I've seen some bare knuckle boxing where they're allowed to tape their hand, but not
Hmm.
the knuckles. So that holds your hand together a little bit better. You could hit harder without worrying
Hmm.
breaking your hand. Where if it's just your wrist is taped, there's a lot of small bones in your hand that can break. So
Have you ever broken anything?
not in my hand.
Good.
Most of my injuries have come from like doing jujitsu and wrestling and stuff. I find it you pull stuff and tear stuff, and I broke my wrist once wrestling, and it just seems to be a lot harder on the body than like kickboxing and Muay Thai.
That's yeah, and they that's not controversial, but that's like a thing that people suggest that's better about doing jujitsu is that you're less prone to injuries, but I mean, I guess that's more like head injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You don't get really any brain trauma in jujitsu or anything. It's far less likely. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you'll bend your finger backwards, or you'll bite
Yep.
or there's a lot of and you'll kink your neck or something like that. But yeah, usually nothing ever serious, but it's definitely I find a lot harder on the body.
And you're traditionally, because I remember asking you this before. It's like your background is Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu.
So a little more kickboxing, but yeah, definitely. So jujitsu and kickboxing is what I started in, and then yeah, as I was becoming more interested in mixed martial arts, my coach at the time started adding in knees and elbows and wrestling and stuff. So, but yeah, I definitely started with just normal, plain old kickboxing and jujitsu.
Elbows. That's what rocked this latest opponent, I think, wasn't it? Like an elbow and
Yeah,
then a barrage. You just like went off on him. That was so exciting. First round finish and uh, got your hand raised. That's so cool. And last time we talked, you were gonna be speaking with the UFC like within a week or something. Has anything transpired on that?
yeah. So we got a hold of them. We went back and forth kind of on a date, and we're just waiting to hear back if they're going to be able to get me on that card and if they'll be able to get me an opponent. But it will be before the end of the year if everything comes together.
Wow. Okay. So that's just within the next 60 days you'll be fighting again. And yeah, you didn't take any damage, so that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm ready to go again right now, so we might as well keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, keep that train on the tracks. Like that's some cowboy type of um, activity. I believe that this will be your fourth fight this year, if right?
Yeah, yeah. So my first fight was December 2018, but in
Okay.
360-day period, it'll be my
Yeah.
fourth.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a advocate for kind of like taking some time off, especially if it was a tough fight. You know, this past fight was pretty like seemed like kind of like a walk in the park for you, but for Cowboy, who's on the Sheath team, Cowboy Cerrone, name dropping.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating because he was on that like huge win streak, and then making a title run, and then he just like 2 weeks later he's fighting Ferguson. I'm like, what? Don't fight Ferguson. Fight somebody else, you know? And then he fought somebody else this recently, the Gagey, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, bro! Like, work with me here. I'm trying to, build our brand, and you can't be losing your fights. But that's just what he does, and it doesn't terribly seem to diminish his reputation because of his, reputation for just being a badass and willing to fight anyone anytime. But it definitely hinders the, you know, run for the belt. So
yeah,
that's so like my like I guess my point is that sometimes just take some time off. But like I said, in this situation, I think it's fine. But I also like kind of like what Stipe Miocic does and Whitaker. Like they only fight, like when the fight is right, I guess, and they're not like just pushing for a fight. But you're still in that like earlier stages. I guess you're not at the Whitaker and Stipe Miocic level just yet.
yeah. I think they're probably making a little bit more money than me, so they can take some time off.
Yeah, yeah, you got to keep those checks coming in the mail. So how does that work? Like when so there's like you get paid to show up or something, but then you get paid if you win. Is that how it works also? Like you get paid more if you win?
Yeah, it's usually you'll get paid. It's basically like half and half. So say if it, for example, if it was 10,000, you'd get 10,000 to show and 10,000 to win.
Mm. And then of course fight of the night or something you would get, that 50,000,
Yeah.
which I was hoping you would have gotten that. You could have easily gotten like I don't know if it was like knockout of the night or whatever, but I think that went another direction. But there, I feel like you'll have a few of those coming in your future because of your fight style, and you tend like it seems like you tend to finish opponents like go to the judges scorecards often in your fights.
I think I've gone to four decisions and then eight or nine finishes, I think.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, that's a good like ratio, I think.
Yeah, and
Uh,
even when I do go to decision, it's usually I'm always trying to finish. It ends up being like a fight of the night or something like that, even when it goes.
Yeah, you have a really good style and I think like the moving forward, you're not like a counter striker per se. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just are, you're the person that you kind of like go aggressor, like you push forward, and that's that's always, that's gonna make a fight. You're not gonna get like one of those dancing around for 5 rounds and just touching gloves, playing patty cakes and shit.
Yeah.
Those are those happen every now and then. I'm like, what is? But I guess that's probably when people are scared of their opponent or something.
Yeah, or scared of taking too much damage, or yeah.
Yeah, and now and I'm recalling something, but I think it we might have touched on this in the previous conversation, which I really wish we could get that up and published because it was really good. But um, Tyrone Woodley, is like this, to me, a boring fighter because he's so careful, and he's like saving his energy for like the last round, it seems like. I don't, and that's another strategy, but you seem to just go for it, from the beginning bell. You're not like particularly conserving energy
No,
yet.
and yeah, and I think it makes for a more exciting fight, especially for the fans. And then yeah, if I'm able to finish it, then it's I think it makes for a better experience for the fans. But yeah, for Tyron, I think he carries a lot of muscle too, so he likes to kind of rest, and explode. And I think just lately, sometimes he's been resting a little too much and not exploding enough.
Yeah, and it's just it's a tragic story for the fans because you're sitting there like, I know you can explode on this dude and you're being very conservative and it's just not fun to watch. It's like, what are you doing? Fight. You're here to fight. But it's a strategy, it's a tactic, and he's like conserving that because of his gas tank isn't as strong as others because he's so lean, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the more muscle you have, the more energy and the more oxygen and stuff it takes. So sometimes there's a kind of a tipping point as to where, you want to be strong and stuff, but you can get to that point where you've got too much muscle and it drains your system too much that it's not actually beneficial.
Exactly. Um, have you have you been tested by USADA?
Yeah, I've been tested, I think 3 or 4 times so far.
Wow. What's that like?
It's interesting. There's an app that I have to keep up to date where I am all the time. Uh,
Whoa.
yeah, so they need to know where you are all the time, and you fill it out quarterly. So you have to fill out 3 months in advance, and then what they'll do is that way they can show up randomly to wherever you are at any time of the day or whatever. So they've showed up randomly a couple of times, and one time they did a blood and urine test. One time was just a urine test. So it's all for different types of steroids, I guess.
Wow.
And then then at my first UFC fight, I was tested before the fight.
Obviously, those came back negative.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't do any steroids, so.
Yeah. I take testosterone replacement therapy sometimes because I'm older and I'm not competing in the ring where that's cheating. But um, I'm trying to just, and it can be a quality of life enhancement as you get older, but obviously you just don't really have that as an option while you're competing. And I think I like that. I think it's fine. I think I like it more now having USADA. I guess it just makes everything more even, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
They Go
still
ahead.
the odd fighter that tries and gets away with steroids, but usually if they're doing steroids, they get caught eventually with USADA. So.
Yeah. The latest one that was shocking was the TJ Dillashaw. And it's been a while now, but that was like, I love watching him fight. He's one of my favorite fighters, and to see that, I was like, hmm, that's kind of disappointing. I don't particularly think, like, I don't know, less of him. I still want to watch him fight, but that's just, he's out, I think, for 2 years.
Yeah,
So, but at the same time, I think I don't know, it's like he scheduled it that way. And, because now he had those two shoulder surgeries and, he'll be recovering. And by the time the 2 years rolls around, he'll be, like, in tip top shape and ready to go again, which is that's like another like maybe it's planned out that way, but I don't know that to be true. Speaking of that, it reminds me of Henry Cejudo, and he's quite the character these days.
Yeah, he's got an interesting gimmick, I guess you'd say. I don't know. It doesn't really work for me, but it's he's getting attention anyways.
Exactly. We're sitting here talking about him. It was like they call him the king of cringe, and I was so like in line with that because I'm like, oh, he put the king hat on and the snake, and it was just like, what are you doing? But like you said, now everyone's talking about him, and he's got two belts and trying to get the women's belt, which that's kind of funny. He's just making controversy to get talked about to make his fights more popular, and
Yep.
I think it's working because like the guy before him, Mighty
Demetrius.
Mouse, yeah,
Yeah.
Demetrius Johnson. I mean, it was just he was so bland and not exciting for me to what because there was no character or personality. It was just like I'm gonna come in here and dominate and then leave. And I'm like, uh, like a stranger, if you will. Like who is this guy?
Yeah,
But
I think you need to be, invested a little bit in the fighters, and it's their job to kind of give you a reason to be interested and invested in them, and then obviously when they win or lose, it means a little bit more.
yeah, and that's where the that ultimate re, fighter reality show was so important for the sport because you got to know a lot of the up and coming fighters in the organization. But and like typically those fighters tend to do pretty well in the organization once they're out of the contest. But didn't you fight someone that had won an Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, so I fought Jonathan Brookins. He won, I believe it was season 10 of The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And my last opponent, Polo Reyes, he won the Latin America Ultimate Fighter.
Whoa. So you beat two Fighter winners. That's actually pretty impressive. Now, I mean, because I didn't know they won per se. I knew they were on the show, but the fact that they won and they beat everybody in that house, and then you go and beat them pretty easily. I mean, that's a statement to your just skills and capabilities. So that's, I mean, I can't wait till they have your hands raised and Dana's putting the belt on you and Holloway's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, who is this guy? Oh, you're gonna know. You're gonna know the name, Kyle Nelson, soon enough. And but as of right now, you just are doing your work in the octagon. But you know, I don't know what has to happen to get you more notoriety. I don't know that necessarily being a tool like Colby it would be in your best interest. Although I would support you if you wanted to get crazy. I'd be like, okay, I'll back you. But yeah, I don't. You can't just be copying people either. It's like you have to figure out like who you are, and then multiply that times 10, and put that on like camera and be just act the fool or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a fine line, and yeah, I definitely want to make sure that it's more organic. Um,
Yeah.
and then I think it comes across better to the crowd. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, and I think just showing the audience a little bit more of me, a little more of my personality and stuff. I think I'll start winning over some more fans and stuff. And then obviously the more social media followers I have, the more the UFC looks at that and says, "Oh, this guy's popular. We should,
Yep.
do this or do that, or we should promote him a little more this way." And yeah, so
Exactly. And that they leave that up to you guys and the fans, it seems like. And that's a huge just different it makes a huge impact on what fights you're going to get. Like with Chael Sonnen, he came off 2 losses as a middleweight and goes to fight John Jones for the for the belt at light heavyweight, coming off 2 losses because he was running his mouth, you know? So that's clearly works. It's just I mean, it's the timing and like I feel like maybe you just keep getting experience and winning, and then, like you said, organically something will come to mind, or you maybe never be like that type of character, which would also be fine. I mean, no, a lot of people aren't, and they're still doing great. Like Whitaker, he doesn't do anything,
mhm. And
you
George
know.
here.
Yeah, exactly. They're just classy, professional fighters, and people love them.
Yep.
Like, and so Whitaker's fighting Addison, or I mean Adesanya. Sorry,
Yeah.
um, is that this coming weekend? I think.
Yep. This is Saturday. Yeah, October 5th, I believe.
Are you gonna do one of your fight predictions that you
Yeah.
do?
I'm just trying to figure out what angle I want to take on this one.
I'm going for Whitaker, but thinking Adesanya is gonna win, and I just don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch Adesanya fought Calvin Gastelum
Hmm.
a while back, and that was a very close fight, I think. And so I think it'd be interesting to watch that again, and then I think I'll have a better idea of how I think Adesanya will do.
Did Whitaker fight um, that guy you just said, Gastelum?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because that would be like if he beat Gastelum, well, they would have both beat Gastelum, which and he's really good too. So, but like Whitaker beat Yoel Romero, like that by itself is says a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the toughest guys in the division, and yeah, Whitaker beat him twice, so that's
Yeah, you can't deny that. Even though I think some people thought Yoel won the second fight, which I think it was a very, close fight, but for a championship match, yeah, I feel like you have to really, as the opponent, not champion, you have to really win definitively in order to take the belt, in my opinion.
yeah, exactly. It's hard to take the championship away from the champion off a close decision.
Yeah, and I know, and I feel like they did that actually with the 125ers we were just talking about,
Yeah,
House.
yeah, that was definitely a close fight, and it was interesting to see it go to the challenger.
I know, but I feel like that was a political move because Demetrius was just so not involved in publicity or promotion. He just would go, he fights and then seemingly goes home and plays video games. That's
Yeah.
that's my interpretation of what he does, and so it's just not exciting. How are you a gamer?
So when I was younger, I used to game a lot. And then just training so much and stuff, I kind of fell out of it. But I just got an Xbox One there like a couple weeks ago, and I kind of linking up with all my old friends that I used to play with, and yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll start playing a little bit more if I get some downtime. I know the UFC, they started like a Twitch
Uh-huh.
account thing like that and sent me an email about joining it and different things. So, but yeah, we'll see if I find the time.
I mean, I could see it being beneficial in a couple of ways. A, you're training so hard, it's good to sit down and rest, you know, and also it does stimulate the mind. It is a, like hand mind coordination, and I could see that being somewhat applicable in, to fighting. It's just, you have a son and other obligations. Do you have jobs?
Um, I do a bit of personal training, but I put it all on hold. And then obviously I do, the Canadian distribution for Sheath underwear.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Shout out to you guys in Canada. If you order from Canada, your order will be shipped from within Canada. That's a huge thing, that I like to quote, like brag about here, is that we have distribution in Canada and the UK, um, and you've been with us since I think like 2014, just like a
yeah,
part of the team.
yeah,
And I know,
2013 or 2014. Yeah,
I,
you guys started sponsoring me, and then I believe it was 2016 we started doing the Canadian distribution. So
hmm yeah, we have a big new shipment coming to you with like 13 new styles, which is
awesome.
that's kind of crazy. And a lot of them are women's, and like I think like six of them are women's new stuff, and then the others, like, the more the V, the Sheath V, the 8-inch leg stuff. We got a handful of new color options and designs for that. So be on the lookout. It should be there in the next week or so, and we'll get this party started because we need to finish this year strong. It was a very challenging year for Sheath for a lot of reasons that are just, part of business, I think, which is, I find that like fighting is very like synonymous with running a business, kind of, because it's a constant battle of moving forward, and just never giving up and always looking for new ways to improve. And, it's just like, and it's us, you against the world. So,
Yeah. Yeah, a
uh,
lot of hard work, and and definitely sometimes it's when you put in that extra work, the extra work that nobody sees, the extra work that nobody's doing. That's kind of what separates you from the pack. And yeah, I think that's something that at Sheath, you guys, and here in Sheath Canada, we do well.
yeah, we are doing well. And we're still growing, and we're not, yeah, never going to stop. Point is, it's really cool having you on the team and having you winning and, representing us, and just it's fun. It's like it's a perk of the business, in my opinion, is being able to sponsor you and work with you, and then watch you develop and grow and mature and just do well. How old are you now?
28 now.
Okay. So you still got a handful of years before you're even in your prime.
Yeah.
And because I was 33 once, and I think 33 is like the absolute pinnacle of your, um, being like a human male. You'll be at your like absolute best potential, you know. So you still have a little bit of ways to go. I think. I don't know that, but that's in my, because you have that, because at that point not only are you still at, peak physical potential, now you have a lot of the experience to go with that.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, you've been doing it for so long that you're like an expert, and if you're not there yet, it's gonna be like just unconscious. You're not even gonna have to think when you're going in the ring, and maybe, and hopefully you're there now. I mean, what do you, yeah, tell me about that. What are you thinking when you're in the octagon and the cage closes and Mazzagatti is like, fight?
Yeah, I mean it's all basically comes down to reaction. I mean you can't stop and think about it, because obviously people can throw punches and kicks and stuff in fractions of
Yeah.
seconds.
Uh-huh.
Time you see that and you try and process the information and then try and figure out what you want to do, it's too late. You've already been
Uh-huh.
hit. So it's in training, that's what we work on a lot is reaction time. So it whatever the opponent does, it triggers a unconscious reaction. So I know exactly if he's throwing a jab, I know what to return with. If he throws a
Yeah.
kick, I know how to block it and to throw something back right away before he's able to block what I'm throwing back. So when I'm in the octagon, it's basically my mind's blank and it's just kind of it's ready to take the information that he gives me and then turn it around and fire it back at him. Or if he's being a little defensive and I'm going to be offensive, then it's just moving forward, throwing the stuff that I know works for me.
Uh-huh.
Some of the power punches, or maybe I've got a couple good kicks, so I work off my A game. And but yeah, definitely you don't want to stop and think about it. You want to just kind of let it happen.
Beautiful. That's what I want to hear. I like it. I like it. But for reaction time, what type of exercises do you guys train with, or like use to increase your reaction time?
So there's some stuff that I do with the sport lab, and it's almost like games where it's you go on the computer, you go to this website like a brain training website, and,
Mm-hmm.
and again you'll work on reaction time, memory, different stuff like that. And then when you go to the gym, when you're doing your sport specific training, then you'll work on somebody will throw something at you, and then you return with the proper combination, and then you'll drill that over and over again. And then when you're sparring is when you're kind of going live and you're putting it all into work. And then if it all works well, then perfect, you can start adding more stuff. But if some of it isn't working well, then you take it back to the drawing board and you continue to drill it and practice it, and then you try it again at sparring next week.
That's beautiful. Um, I'm like recently Cejudo teamed up with some like sports lab type of organization, and they're really focusing on a more like technical um, kind of like computer programmed thing where it's improving his reaction time, and it sounds like you're doing something similar, but but like on a computer slash in the gym also. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. I think you still have to mix the kind of the new school with the old school.
yeah?
Um, I think some people are getting a little too far ahead with the sciencey kind of stuff, and they're spending too much time focused on that, and they're not going to the gym and hitting pads and sparring and doing some of the real physical kind of dirty work. And then
Hmm.
there's some people that are still old school, and that's all they do. They go to the gym and they grind it out every day, but they don't really touch down on any of the new age kind of science stuff, as far as especially with nutrition and obviously some of the brain training and reaction time that way.
Yeah, I think that's part like the future's a combination of those two uh, practices, because you don't want to get left behind when it comes to some newer techniques that really do improve areas that are not improved on by the traditional type of uh, training, which I think is just the reaction time speed. I remember watching a Ultimate Fighter, and um, what's that girl's name? She's really kind of cute, and she's from Brazil, and she's always like she came so close to winning the championship. She has like a dimple or like a mole on her cheek. Anyways, they were just like they'd have the fighter against the wall, and then they'd just be like throwing tennis balls at them. And to me, that was something that was really like powerful. Like, ooh, yeah, I mean, you have to really be quick and agile to, either, I don't know, I guess they were trying to just avoid being hit on, fuck, what was that girl's name? It doesn't matter. Anyways, what is it?
Claudia Galdea.
Yes,
Yeah.
Claudia Gadea. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, I wanted her to be champion so bad, and then she lost to Jacek, and then she just never really came back. But I guess she would have to fight Weili Zhang next, or not, to get the title now.
Yeah.
But in Yayun Jacek, she just kind of fell off, and then I think Rose Namajunas might not fight again, that's pretty wild.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? Like, if you did make it to the top, you're, just ridiculously successful, like Conor McGregor, for instance. You have everything you ever wanted. Would you still fight?
Yeah, 100%. I get asked that question a lot. That people say, "Well, if you won the lottery, what would you do?" Or, if you had lots of money. But yeah, I mean, if I did this for the money, I would have quit a long time ago. I mean, it's been a long road with no money. So I mean, if that's what it was about, I would have changed careers a long time ago.
That's funny.
This is about my legacy. This is about proving that I'm the best in the world. So I mean, I do want to be compensated fairly for that, but that's not what it's all about. I am, I'd be doing this if I was financially set, anyways.
I love it. I love hearing that you are the best in the world. And on that note, we can go ahead and wrap it up. It's been over an hour. Thank you. This one went way better. The sound quality it was really good. I could hear you and really engage here. So thank you for doing a do-over with me, and we will get this up and posted on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. I really appreciate it. And, I'm always here if you need anything, so hit me up.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Yeah, for sure. By then I'll be coming off another win, so it'll be good.
Sir. Exactly. All right, brother. Thank you again. Have a fabulous rest of your day. And unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, just, thank you to you and everyone at SHEATH for all your support. Even coming off a couple losses, you guys are always there. You were there before, now I'm coming off a win and everybody's coming out of the woodwork, but you guys are always there for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle. I love it. All right, brother.